so well. It works so well. Sidney Closter was a member of the B'nai B'rith professional staff for nearly 50 years. 2/3 of that time as Director of Development. Although he retired in 1996, that merely meant he no longer received a paycheck. He continued to actively raise money and consult for B'nai B'rith and fundraising as a volunteer up until the very day he passed away in 2005. Ironically, Sid suffered a heart attack in 2005 as he was walking from the Metro to a B'nai B'rith legislative breakfast on Capitol Hill. Basically, he was there to help us raise some money. He never recovered, and he died shortly thereafter. After his death, his family and numerous friends looked for a way to preserve and memorialize Sid's memory. Since Sid loved nothing more than mentoring young staff, an award was created to honor his memory by giving a stipend and a plaque to a deserving staff member in the early years of his or her career. Now this summer, I had the opportunity to work with Rose Closter, his wife, and their family. And working with them, I determined how best to use the funds that have accumulated in the Closter Fund. And we wanted to use that money to benefit the entire organization. As it turns out, they decided that there were two programs that were very close to Rose and Sidney's heart. That was the seniors program, and then also the summer camp program at Perlman. So after a few discussions, the family decided to use that money to defray costs for this past summer's resident leadership training retreat that we hold at Perlman Camp every other summer. At the same time, the seniors program was then going to provide furniture and create an area in the A-Lodge at camp where seniors, visitors to the camp, and the young campers could sit and enjoy some reflective and quiet time. We then created and dedicated the Rose and Sidney Memorial Alcove. We presented the program, we dedicated the alcove, and we presented a plaque. And I'd like to read to you the inscription on that plaque. It's the Rose and Sidney Closter Memorial Alcove at the B'nai B'rith Perlman Camp. In honor and appreciation of Rose and Sidney Closter for their constant desire to make the world a better place, for their spirit of Tikkun Olam, and for their many years of heartfelt devotion to B'nai B'rith. Dedicated August 2013, the B'nai B'rith Resident Leadership Retreat. And I want to thank Rose Closter and the entire Closter family for allowing us to. Before I introduce Rose for a second, I did want to introduce a couple of the guests that she brought with her. One is Dorothy Goodman, who her husband Lester were volunteer members of B'nai B'rith for many, many years and a good part, a close friend of Rose and Sidney. Also with us tonight is Dorothy Simon. Dorothy, and some of you may know, is the wife of Bernie Simon, who was the editor of B'nai B'rith magazine and director of publicity for B'nai B'rith for a number of years ago. When I started 30 years ago, I believe he was the administrator of our pension plan. So I want to thank Dorothy for being here as well. So I'd like to ask now a former colleague of ours, some of whom we actually some of us who actually still see him periodically, Dan Heckelman, that some of you might remember. If you could help us for a moment. And we're going to get a microphone to Rose, and Rose, I understand, has a few remarks she'd like to share.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. It's nice to be here with all of you. Some that I know for many years, some that are new, and it's wonderful to see all the young people getting involved and being part of the neighborhood. Now, I struggled the last few days with writing some words for this opportunity, but my good friend Mark Olshan has already said very much of some of the things I was going to say. So I thank you very much, Mark, for that. And I will just conclude that I love the blending of the seniors with the campers up at the neighborhood, and they came back from that experience very elated that they could be part of the camping experience. I also, my children, Gail and Harold, send regards to everybody, and unfortunately they had other commitments and could not attend with me today. So the Closter family especially appreciates the very generous efforts of Dan Heckelman, who handled this program for many, many years and made it a very successful one. And I'd like to thank Mark Olshan, who has picked up the pieces and is going forward with it. And of course, Dan Mariaschin and all their staff. I'm sorry, to include Mariaschin and all their staff, to include Sidney in the B'nai B'rith legacy of doing good for all people. Thank you all for being here today and enriching our lives.
Thank you, Rose. I might also mention that it's my understanding that Rose recently celebrated her 97th birthday. She was feeling a little under the weather this time, but we know next year, Rose, you'll be up here at the podium, and you'll take it all. You'll be able to do the whole thing. All right, sounds good. I also wanted to mention one more point about Sid. You heard about our planned giving program, and I believe the 1843 Society this morning. I understand that Sid was really one of the person who conceived of that program, and I really would like to. I understand there are a number of people in the room right now that have joined the society. You know them by on the name tag. There's a little sticker. And I'd like to note that these folks have joined the society by putting B'nai B'rith in their estate planning. That will stand as a testament and memorial to the organization. And I'd like to have those folks who are members of the 1843 Society just to stand for a moment and be recognized. Thank you very much. Now, I urge you to read more about Sid and the award in the handout that's at your tables. And now I will turn it back to Dan, who will talk about this year's honoree.
Well, we're very pleased this year to present the Closter Award to someone that most of you probably have not met or have not seen, but you've certainly seen his work. Oren Drori heads our programs operation at our UN office in New York. It's a pretty significant task, particularly, but not only, but particularly, twice a year he has a mammoth job. The first is in September, when B'nai B'rith, together with partner organizations, the World Jewish Congress, the Conference of Presidents, the Anti-Defamation League, who am I leaving out? AGC is in the room. We do there are 4 organizations that join together to meet with visiting heads of state, foreign ministers, and so forth. Very important part of our program. Then in the spring, this year it'll be in June, we have our annual UN Days, where we will invite our leadership to come to New York, also for a whole series of meetings surrounding the United Nations. But in between, Oren Drori has really been a tremendous assistance to this organization, making us look good so many times, working together with the director of the UN office, David Michaels, unfortunately couldn't be here today. So Oren, in recognition of all that you do, and it says here, recognizing creativity, personal initiative, a commitment to hard work, and a desire to grow in his career. By the way, there's one other thing. How many of you received ICHRPP this week? It's the weekly compendium, the weekly update of all of our public policy activity that's edited by Oren. So again, another thing. There you go. So we're truly fortunate to have him on staff. So Oren, would you come up and receive your award? There's also a cash award that goes with it, and we'll get that to Oren as well. So, congratulations.
Thank you also to the Closter family and Rose. It's a great honor, and thank you for recognizing the important work that new staff can bring to an organization like B'nai B'rith that's been around for 170 years. I'm honored to be part of the Sidney Closter legacy. I want to recognize the B'nai B'rith staff from around the world. Our UN work relies on the others in the organization who help and collaborate with us, and I'm grateful for that relationship. I consider B'nai B'rith a family, and I'd like to especially want to thank my nuclear family in B'nai B'rith, the New York office of Rhonda and Renee and David, who's unable to be here. It's truly a joy to work at this organization, and I look forward to coming into the door every day. I want to express finally my deep appreciation for the volunteers. Consider myself lucky to work on issues that I believe passionately about, the defense of Israel, the defense of the Jewish people. And I know that without your contribution of time and energy and funding, it would not be possible for me, and this organization would not be able to function. It's not always easy to be a Jew at the United Nations, but B'nai B'rith's large worldwide network and our history of engagement opens up a lot of doors, and it brings a lot of respect from the UN missions and the UN diplomats. So I hope to see you all in June in New York on the 22nd. For UN Days, I promise it will be an interesting event, and you can see what we deal with every day with these UN ambassadors and UN missions. So thank you.